Hello and welcome to the Livin Vivaciously Podcast. I am Marina Girgis. This is the first episode of this podcast and kind of a weird topic. I didn't think I would start this podcast with this episode on disappointment, but I want to keep this podcast as transparent as possible and to walk you through the journey, the ins and out of being a full-time entrepreneur and full-time and nomad and digital entrepreneur, traveling and living around the world. I've been doing this for the last 4 years as an entrepreneur and almost 3 years as a digital nomad. And I have experienced a lot of disappointments all throughout the journey, whether it's in my business or in my travels and the places I've been. And I want to walk you through a little story where it highlighted disappointment very boldly. And I thought this is an important lesson to experience, especially if you're running a business and you want to make your business last beyond the first year or beyond your first successful launch. So I'm currently in Palermo, Sicily, in Italy, and I arrived here about 3 weeks ago, and it was kind of very weird how I booked this place. I was in Tuscany. I had just had my surgery in Greece, which was another story that maybe I'll share on this podcast. Then I decided to book a 5-week stay in a farm to just heal my soul, be in nature, have quiet and peace and reflect and see what I want to do in my business after the surgery because it felt like a turning point in my life. I loved Tuscany. It was absolute peace. The farm was incredible. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want in my life. This is exactly what I put in my vision board at the beginning of 2023. I just said, I want to enjoy my life more and I want to be more in nature. I want more green. I want more peace. I don't want to be in a city anymore. After living in Athens for 8 months, my nervous system was like, girl, you need to relax. So when I was there, I was thinking about, okay, what do I do after these 5 weeks? And I got in this like anxious state of mind, which if you are a traveler or a digital nomad, or even a person who just lives their day-to-day life with a little bit of anxiety, you know what that's like. Okay, well, what's next? What do I do? Like, will I find a place to live at? Let me do some research. And by research, I mean, I didn't really research. I was just like, let me book the first thing that comes up. So anyways, I found a co-living space here in Palermo. And I was like, you know what? I want to go to Sicily. I want to be by the beach after being in the mountains for so long. Let me go to the beach. Let me, get my buns to tan a little bit and just live that lifestyle. So I booked this co-living space for 35 days without doing much research of like, what is Palermo? What does it even look like? I'm just like, oh my God, yes, Sicily is like this beautiful island. It's going to be phenomenal. Everyone told me the food there is incredible. And how bad can Italy be? Anyways, so I ended up booking this stay and I was still at the farm at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to research anything. I feel good. I booked it and I came to Palermo and kid you not, my first day. It was from the first moment I stepped in, everything flipped. It went from absolute gorgeousness and beauty and serenity to absolute chaos and loudness. And just like as a highly sensitive person, which I identify as a highly sensitive person, I get affected so much by noise and people and environments and vibes. Like vibes matter to me a lot. But especially noise. I'm so sensitive. And I was just like hearing sirens going off. A lot of people were yelling. It was loud. It was chaotic, completely different energy. Anyways, I take the airport shuttle to the city center and I check into my Airbnb because I had one night before going into the co-living. So at that Airbnb, I was like, okay, this doesn't look anything like what I booked. But anyways, it's clean. It's fine. I am only here for one night. The next shocker was there was no internet. So I arrived during midweek and there was no internet. And I messaged the host and the host was like, yeah, it's been down. Okay, so are you going to do anything about it? But these are the kind of things you run into when you're traveling full time. So I'm like, okay, Marina, just enjoy your day, like go out, explore a little bit, and then you can get back to your work tomorrow when you check into the co-living space. So I leave the Airbnb and I go out and all I see is trash, abundance of trash everywhere. And I'm like, oh no, no. Where are the aesthetics? this doesn't look like an island. Where is the beach? Why is the beach so far? And anyways, I get through my day. It's blazing hot, like 30 degree plus Celsius, which is like 90 plus Fahrenheit. And I remember that night, I just felt like nothing is going. This is not what I imagined this experience to be. And I still have more than a month here in the city. And then at night, I wanted to get some water, and I could not for the life of me find a place in that neighborhood that I was in that was open. And this was maybe 9 p.m. And I'm going home and I'm looking and I keep going to different stores that Google Maps says they're open, and nothing was open. And I remember that was the breaking point. That moment, I stood in a corner in the street, just legit in the street, and I started crying. My nervousness, I had to release it somehow. It had to come out. I started crying because I felt like my safety was compromised. I mean, if you can't get water, I mean, that's like a trigger for my safety and my nervous system. And maybe you've been in a similar situation where you couldn't get a taxi, or you moved to a different place and you couldn't make friends or something like that, where it's just like, you felt completely alone and abandoned and like in the middle of nowhere and no one could understand you. And I've been in these situations multiple times, but it hasn't happened in a really long time that I couldn't get water. But that was the last straw. And I was like, started crying in the middle of the street. But at that time I found a restaurant on the way back and I just bought an overpriced bottle of water. I went home. I cried myself to sleep. And I was like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. So I go check into my co-living space. It's pretty nice. Again, it was smaller than what I expected. And nothing compares to the acres of green land that I had living at the farm and all the beauty I had there. So I had to readjust my expectations. But anyways, the following couple of days, so that was the weekend, and then I woke up on Monday to construction at 8:30 a.m. And that's when I was like, oh my God, this is just getting worse and worse. I was furious. And I was furious at myself more than anything. I was like, how did I not research this? How did I not ask questions about, is there construction? What is the space like? I just booked and came. I didn't even look up pictures. I didn't do my due diligence. And I kept beating myself up about my decision to come here. And yeah, that didn't sit right with me. So I had a talk with the owner of the place and I was like, listen, I know I booked for 35 days. I think I don't want to take those extra 5 days because I wanted to still keep my discount and still try and be there, see what else is here for me in Palermo. That first week was horrible for me. I couldn't do work. I couldn't even wake up in peace, and I really value my morning routine. So when I wake up, I like meditating, doing my yoga, and just being in peace for at least an hour and a half, even 2 hours before I get into any types of conversation, any noise. I just love that it centers me, especially as a sensitive person, and helps me do better work throughout the day. So I couldn't do that first week, but because this was happening, I was getting a little bit curious about how can I change my routine? How can I do something about this where I don't just escape it? Because my natural response is when I'm in an uncomfortable situation is to leave. And maybe you've been in that situation before where like, okay, oh my God, this is bad. I want to go. And this has been like my response for the last few years as I was traveling. I don't like a place. I just up and leave because I know I have that freedom to do that. But somehow part of me was like, your soul chose this place for a reason. Why not kick, scream, shout, cuss, write about it in your journal, get it out of your system, cry about it, and then get curious. Get curious about what is possible here. What can you do to expand and stretch your capacity for uncomfortable situations that could bring you more opportunities for growth? So I did that. So I started wondering, like, what if I woke up at 8 a.m. before construction starts and took the bus, which is 30 minutes to the beach nearby, and spent my morning routine at the beach instead of inside. And that was lovely. I did that for the first week and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, I get to start my day by the water. I mean, that's what I wanted. By the time I came back, my nervous system was calm. So even if there was construction, I just put in my headphones. Obviously, I can't record the podcast and just get on with it, accept it. And that was like amazing for me. And I kind of like changed a little bit my routine in terms of like also what I do in the mornings. So I also started looking at studios. So part of my goals this year, because of my surgery, I wanted to get super healthy and take care of myself and my body. So I started looking for studios and I found a studio and I just signed up for classes and I made sure that the classes are early in the morning. So I was alternating going to the beach, taking walks early in the morning, or going to the studio for Pilates or yoga. And I found that to be amazing because I was like doing the things I've always wanted to do, but I'm really not a morning person, like get up and do things. I would rather just chill at home, make my matcha and meditate and just relax, listen to my spiritual music. So this was interesting and there was this curiosity about it. So I invite you when you're in these situations to get curious about what can you do differently. And of course, I'm not saying don't complain. I mean, complaining is amazing. You get to get it out of your system, especially if you have people around you that hold space for you, or even using your journal as a way to release these thoughts, or maybe even social media if you want that. I did talk about my experience in social media. So the other part was connection. So there's curiosity and then there's connection. Getting to know myself deeper. Through this experience, I'm understanding how sensitive I am to sounds. I kind of knew this about myself, especially living in Athens, a big bustling city, and also living in New York 4 years ago. I got to understand this part of myself that I can't function when there's chaos around. It creates chaos in my mind, but also connecting to other people. So there is a lovely couple here that lives at the co-living, and I got to really get to know them, really connect with them. We've had multiple dinners together, and they've listened to me. They've already created so much space for me to express myself and what I'm going through. They've validated my experiences. They said that they felt that way too when they first came here. And I just felt this amazing connection and that I have space to connect with other people because I wasn't doing other things that I would normally do if I was, let's say, living in Tuscany in that quiet, beautiful farm. And then the last thing is agility and tenacity. So as I said earlier, these uncomfortable situations stretch our capacity for growth and to stick with uncomfortable situations to see what opportunities it can provide us. So becoming stronger and wiser through it. And I've already learned so much, like I said, about myself, but also about what does Marina do when she's in uncomfortable situation? Is her natural reaction to escape, or can she sit with it and experience what this place has to offer as it is? And I want to say that the root cause of the disappointment to begin with is my own expectations. So I know I beat myself up about researching, but even if I did everything I could to research this place, I would not have prepared myself enough for the chaos. And this was reaffirmed by one of the people here where she said, I am the complete opposite. She's an earth sign. And I'm a Scorpio sun, Aries moon and rising. And my Aries, like the Mars energy in my chart is so strong. I just go for it. And she was like, she's an earth sign. And she was like, I'm the complete opposite. I research everything and I plan for everything. But yet you could not prepare for this. It's still chaotic and it still affected me the same way. And that really validated me and made me think, no, I shouldn't beat myself up about this. This is how I operate. I'm spontaneous. I love going on adventures and I have faith that the places that I choose have something for me. And they always do. They always have a lesson for me and a growth opportunity. So the problem was my expectation. I had different expectations of what this looks like. So if you're in these situations, adjusting the expectations is the most important thing. So maybe you're launching a new project or new coaching program and you expect it to go a certain way and then it flops, or maybe only, let's say, 2 people join and your goal was 10 people. You forget to celebrate the 2 people that join because your expectation is that this will be this incredible launch where you're going to make like $50,000 and 10 people will just join right away. Sometimes in business, we will get disappointed. We'll put so much energy into creating these incredible posts online just to post them, and no one likes or shares as we expected. But here you have choices. Your choice is to either stop and give up, or see this as an opportunity to stretch your capacity for change and to strengthen the muscle of trying things out. Trying things out even if that means you would fail. And allowing situations to present you with opportunities for growth. So if the launch or the content flops, there is an opportunity here for readjusting your plan of action. So most often, disappointments are a spotlight on our own expectations. So let's start with our expectations first. And once we experience disappointment, which we will always experience that, we're not perfect beings, I want you to think about getting curious, getting connected, and expanding or strengthening your muscles for change and opportunity. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode, so stay tuned for the next one and follow me at my Instagram at Vivaciously Marina, or check out my free resources on my website, all linked down below in the description. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!